Namaste, and thank you to the leadership of AFMI for including me in this important event, Safety Through Strength and Solidarity. I'm Sunita Vishwanath, co-founder of Hindus for Human Rights. I'm a human rights activist. My whole life I have worked in women's rights organizations. I'm also the co-founder of Women for Afghan Women, which over the past 20 years has grown to be the world's largest Afghan women's rights organization. While I was always quiet about my Hindu faith, feeling it was personal, it was my Hindu faith that led me to consider the entire world my home and every man and woman my own brother and sister. I saw my dharma, my religious calling, to add my energy to the struggles for justice anywhere I saw justice denied. My Hindu faith taught me that every human, indeed every aspect of the universe, is a part of me, and so injustice anywhere was my business. There are two things which have changed in my life during the past decade. The first is that these days I'm giving all my time to advocacy for human rights in India. Let me tell you why. There is a crisis of human rights and democracy in India, and the situation is beyond grave. The BJP, the party that is currently in power in India, is a Hindu nationalist organization, and its ideological roots are the RSS, a Hindu fascist group, and I don't use the word fascist lightly. The RSS is an Indian right-wing, Hindu nationalist, male-dominated, paramilitary volunteer organization. RSS is the ideological font of a group of interconnected Hindu nationalist organizations known collectively as the Sangh Parivar, the family of organizations. Core organizations of the Sangh are the RSS, the VHP, and the BJP, although there are hundreds of others. The RSS and the Sangh Parivar have as their highest goal the project of uniting Hindus to form a Hindu Rashtra, a Hindu nation. The inspiration comes directly from European fascism of the 1920s. The man who assassinated Mahatma Gandhi, Nathuram Godse, was a member of the RSS. Whether what we have in India today is fascist rule or the terrifying signs of imminent fascist rule, Indian minorities and Indians who believe in social justice and human rights are deeply concerned. The U.S. Holocaust Museum lists 12 warning signs of fascism. Let me go through them. 1. Powerful and continuing nationalism. True. The scariest manifestation of this nationalism, in my view, is the BJP's discriminatory citizenship laws, the CAA and NRC, which target Muslims and threaten to render millions of Indian Muslims stateless. In fact, detention camps have been built and more are being built to detain those who cannot prove their citizenship. 2. Disdain for human rights. True. Look at the hundreds of lynchings by Hindu mobs of Muslims and Dalits since Mr. Modi took office. The disregard for the human rights of those who are dissenting in India bravely, only to be thrown in jail for exercising constitutional rights, and the decimation of the human rights, dignity, and autonomy of the people of Kashmir. These are just a few pieces of evidence among many. 3. Identification of enemies as a unifying cause. True. And who is the enemy? The Muslim. Yogi Adityanath, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, said in 2014, "If Muslims take one girl, we'll take 100 Muslim girls." Amit Shah, the Home Minister, said about Bengali immigrants in India, they are termites. When COVID was wreaking havoc across the world, it was characterized in India as Corona Jihad, and the Muslim community was blamed. In fact, ordinary Muslims were targeted all across India. People refused to do business with Muslims, rent to Muslims, even see Muslim doctors. Muslims with COVID were turned away from hospitals. The pogroms this past February in Delhi were conducted by Hindu mobs, targeting Muslim neighborhoods and houses of worship. 40 of the 53 known dead were Muslim. 4. Rampant sexism. True. The Hindu nationalist regime is a regime which is defined by hyper-masculinity. For the Hindu nationalists, even our gods are hyper-masculine, angry and warring, and without their wives by their side. There have been several high-profile rape murder cases that have taken place during Modi's tenure. I'll go through 3 of them. The famous Unnao rape. A BJP minister, Kuldeep Singh Sengar, raped a minor girl in Uttar Pradesh in 2017. It was a gang rape by the minister and his brother and some other men. The girl's family filed a complaint. The girl's father was beaten up by the minister's brothers and other accomplices, and in fact, the father was arrested. He succumbed to his injuries from his beating and he died in prison. The girl attempted to set herself on fire near the residence of UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath again. In 2019, the girl was severely injured in a vehicle accident. An empty truck collided with her vehicle head-on. Her 2 aunts died on the spot, and she and her lawyer suffered life-threatening injuries. Next, the Katoa Rape. This was a gang rape and murder of an 8-year-old Muslim girl in Katoa, Jammu and Kashmir. The rapists were Hindu men, including a priest. The rapes took place over 10 days inside a Hindu temple. The girl from a nomadic Kashmiri community was strangled to death after the 10 days of rapes. In the aftermath, thousands of right-wing Hindus took to the streets to defend not the girl, but to defend the rapist murderers under the banner Hindu Ekta Manch, Hindu Unity Party. This is not any Hinduism I can stand by or I recognize. And now today we are seeing the horrendous case of the rape and murder of a Dalit woman in Hathras, again Uttar Pradesh. The woman was gang raped and murdered. The UP police cremated the girl in secret in the middle of the night, denying her family a chance to see the girl, her body. After the cremation, with no body as evidence, the police forensics team claim that the post-mortem showed that the girl was never even raped. Protesters of rape and rape culture are being arrested all over India. Politician and Dalit leader Jignesh Mevani was just put under house arrest because he was planning a protest and a march in Gujarat. Even the leaders of the opposition Congress party, Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi, were arrested as they tried to make the journey to Hathras to visit the girl's family. 5. Controlled mass media. True. Not only is the mainstream media a mouthpiece for the government, progressive media outlets such as The Wire and Scroll have been targeted with criminal charges because of their courageous reporting of the truth about India. In the conference that my group, as well as others, organized together, Reclaiming India, journalist Paranjoy Guha Thakurta said, "Anyone who criticized the Modi government is being targeted. The media," he said, "have been systematically bled and financially squeezed." 6. Obsession with national security. True. National security is the way that the BJP justifies its anti-Muslim citizenship laws. The abrogation of Article 370, which ended Kashmir's limited autonomy and rendered invalid its constitution. and all the other ways that Muslims are abused and targeted in today's India. 7. Religion and government are intertwined. True. The most explicit example of this is the Ram Janmabhoomi movement, the movement of Hindu nationalists who believe that Ayodhya is the birthplace of Lord Rama and must be restored to him. This movement is perhaps the throbbing vein, the lifeline of Hindutva. The story is a long and bloody saga, but I will summarize. In 1992, Hindu mobs traveled to Ayodhya from all over the country and razed to the ground a 400-year-old mosque, the Babri Masjid. In 2002, after 58 Hindu pilgrims returning from Ayodhya by train were killed in Gujarat, there were communal violence that lasted for weeks in Gujarat, in which thousands of Muslims were killed. Narendra Modi was the new chief minister of Gujarat at the time. As was widely reported, a top state official, Haren Pandya, reported that Mr. Modi ordered officials to take no action against rioters. Pandya was found shot dead in his car some months later. Modi was denied a visa to the United States until he became prime minister because of this crime against humanity. Last November, the Supreme Court finally made its decision in the Babri Masjid case. They announced that while it was indeed a crime that Hindus demolished a mosque, permission was still given for a Ram temple to be built on the site of the demolished mosque. And this past August 5th, the date chosen perhaps to celebrate and commemorate the one-year anniversary of India's assault on the autonomy and rights of the Kashmiri people, the entire BJP leadership, including Mr. Modi, traveled to Ayodhya violating COVID lockdown protocols to conduct religious ceremonies to start the temple construction. And in recent weeks, 32 Hindu nationalists accused of a leadership role in the Babri Masjid demolition were acquitted. 8 and 9, corporate power protected and labor power suppressed. True and true. The most recent example of this is the BJP's anti-farmer and pro-corporate agriculture bills that led to thousands of farmers taking to the streets in protest and some committing suicide. 10. Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. True. There have been constant and consistent attacks on culture and art. Intellectuals are despised in the reign of Hindutva. 11. Obsession with crime and punishment. True. Recently, Supreme Court lawyer Prashant Bhushan was charged with hate speech because he tweeted criticism of the Supreme Court. Draconian national security laws, such as the UAPA, Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, are cited to arrest and jail without evidence hundreds, if not thousands, of students, activists, journalists, protesters, dissenters, some of them quite prominent, such as author and scholar Anand Teltumbde, who is one of India's leading Dalit rights activists, who happens to be the grandson-in-law of Bhimrao Ambedkar, the Dalit leader and architect of the Indian Constitution. 12. Rampant cronyism and corruption, very true and pervasive. And so, I hope you can all see that we are not exaggerating when we say that India is either under a fascist regime or hurtling towards one. When we in the diaspora speak up about the crisis of democracy of India, we are trolled mercilessly, called anti-national, Hindu-phobic, and some, like writer Atish Tasir, are denied entry to India. But these risks are minuscule compared to the risks faced by so many in India who are raising their voices and putting their lives on the line. And so we believe we must speak. To not speak would mean complicity. I had started by saying that there are two things that have changed in my life in the past decade. The first is my single-minded focus on India. And the second is that while in the past my Hindu identity was something I kept private, nowadays I wear my Hindu identity on my sleeve. Everything that I have described, all the abuses of human and constitutional rights, every rape, murder, lynching, unjust arrest, and act of desecration of the faith of others is being done in the name of my religion. Hinduism has been hijacked by violent, murderous bigots. Like all religions, Hinduism has aspects which are unsavory. Hinduism has perpetrated a terrible atrocity throughout the centuries, and I'm speaking about the atrocity of caste and caste-based discrimination and violence. And while I'm a progressive Hindu who stands opposed not only to untouchability and casteism, but caste itself in its entirety, I'm also someone who draws on Hinduism's teachings of nonviolence, ahimsa, the oneness of all, ekatva, regardless of sex, gender, religion, race, caste, and the importance of living our life through seva, service, and compassion and generosity. My Hinduism's core is loka samgraha, the well-being of all in the world, and the ideal of para dukkha dukkhi, seeing the other's joy and suffering as one's own. I cannot bear to see my beautiful Hindu religion and philosophy, which is so expansive and inclusive, whose principal tenet is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one sacred family, destroyed and turned into an ideology of violence, extremism, and supremacy. And this is why I work to build a platform of progressive Hinduism, which is inclusive, peaceful, justice-seeking, which is devoted to caste abolition, and which opposes Hindutva. Through my work, I have the privilege of meeting and working with progressive people from all faiths, opposing the extremisms and bigotries within their faith communities and standing for justice for all. There are powerful secular movements for justice which are important and courageous. However, I believe that given the rise of religious and ethnic nationalism the world over, it is imperative that people of faith and conscience who care for each other and our planet, who are fueled by love and not hate, rise up as one for the sake of all of humanity. Religious extremists seek to divide us, but we must cling to each other, refusing to be divided, refusing to hate. This is the only way. Quoting Buddhist activist nun Angel Kyoto Williams, I will not be liberated if you are not liberated. Your liberation is bound up with mine. Thank you and namaste.